This episode of the Cigar Social Podcast is brought to you by Black Star Line Cigars. From the highly rated Warwich to the outstanding Lalibela and classic El Milagro, these cigars are absolutely incredible and use the absolute best tobacco from Aganorsa leaf, which is farmed and expertly handcrafted in Esteli, Nicaragua. Visit them at blackstarline.shop and use promo code CIGARSOCIAL15 for 15% off your entire order and receive free shipping on all orders over $100. Black Star Line Cigars. Cigars are a daily operation. Welcome to another episode of the Cigar Social Podcast, folks. This is episode 26. I am your host. My name is Matt. Thank you for joining. Today, we have a very interesting guest, which comes with a very impressive education and experience. He has a bachelor's degree in sport and fitness administration and management and homeland security. He's got a master's degree in public administration and theological studies. And he's got a PhD in public policy. Like, wow. But also from experiences, he started as a cashier at the Dollar Tree. And then 10 years later, he was like a flight commander and executive and operations officer and deputy chief of the United States Air Force. After that, he became some special agent for the Air Force. He left his military and government profession and dove right into whiskey as becoming the director of operations at Axe and the Oak Distillery, and then became vice president of the Colorado Distillers Guild. Ultimately founded Rick House Spirits and Copper Sky Distilling, which we'll talk about here. I believe he now owns 8 companies in total at this point. I'm surprised he has enough time to sit here and talk to some random dude in his shed. And I know I left out a bunch of other experiences, but maybe we'll dive deeper into that. But ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, the founder of Copper Sky Distillery, Mike Root. Man, thanks for joining.
It's a pleasure. It's going to be a fun show for sure.
I mean, I hope so. I got some questions. Never heard of Copper Sky. I have a buddy who's in part of my cigar group. He turned me on to your distillery. We chatted. This is just phenomenal, and we'll dive into it. And I know there's others too. I can't wait to try. But first, I want to talk about what I'm smoking. Today's stick is the Liga Privada Unico Feral Flying Pig. This is a special release made by Drew Estate. It is a 5 3/4 by 60 Perfecto Vitola. Said to be a potent cigar with a palate-pleasing notes of rum, sweet molasses, chocolate, and pepper. It's a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper on a Brazilian Matafina binder and fillers from Nicaragua and Honduras. MSRP is about $20. And on Half Wheel, I saw it gave it a rating about 91. Unfortunately, like I said, this is, I believe, a rare and limited release. I'm not sure if that's still out there, but if you can find it, from what I have so far and what I've smoked off the light, I got a feeling this is going to be a fantastic cigar. And in the spirit of cigars, we have the bottle today. And I want to thank Copper Sky right off the bat. This is just a phenomenal drink. This is the Copper Sky Cigar Blend, part of their experimental series. And interesting enough, it's finished in Amburana barrels. Did I say that right?
Amburana, yep.
Amburana, yep. This is batch 2, bottle number 5, weighing in at 122.6 proof. So it is a little high octane. If you're not, looking for something with a little heat, this might not be your cup of tea or whiskey. But it is a flavor bomb. It's got a punch of just, I still, even halfway through the bottle, I'm still picking up flavors from that I didn't have or I couldn't find originally. So it is just this evolving flavor bomb. And I like it because, and I believe it, I read it somewhere, instead of finding the right cigar to pair with whiskey, Copper Sky, I feel, made a whiskey to pair with your cigar. And it's a these two so far, I feel is going to be a beautiful marriage together. This is a rye whiskey rested in American oak and Amburana wood, with this distinct batch. It's rightfully called the Cigar Blend. I'm a loss of words. I get notes of like gingerbread, dried fruit. It's got like an earthy aroma to it, but it's just like I said, it keeps changing on me a little bit, but in a good way. Surprising, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
MSRP is
you
about
know, it,
MSRP is what, about $100 on one of these.
actually in state it's 75.
Oh, in Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to put our experimental series out around that $75 mark so more people can get it because everyone's used to paying $100 a bottle, and so we want to get our stuff out there a little less.
It's funny too because I have like this worth it threshold for me when it comes to cigars and whiskey. I mean, shit, even craft beer. If a cigar is over $20, it's gotta be worth it for me to spend that
Mhm.
type of money because I know I've had cigars that are phenomenal in the $10, $15 range. Same thing with whiskey. Anything over, closing in on that $100 mark, I gotta be like, man, I know it's really good, and I'm gonna spend that money because it's really good. But again, sometimes you don't know until you try it. Um,
Right.
both of these so far are well worth it. 100%. I will go ahead and say, I will put this on my yes again, please list because I've had whiskey that's really good for $30. You know,
Mhm.
but like I said, this is a very unique blend, very unique palette, and like you said, it's an experimental series, so it's something that you can bring to your father-in-laws that who likes to smoke cigars and drink whiskey and be like, "Hey, pops, I got a bottle for you because this is right up your alley," and I completely agree. Um,
Mm.
what led you into using the Amberana barrels that I've never seen before?
Yeah, it for us, like you mentioned earlier, and you hit it right on the head. We wanted to create a whiskey that paired with a cigar, usually like that earthy, like the Maduro type cigars, because a lot of the cigar blends that are out there, they're trying to emulate the tobacco notes or taste like a cigar. And so we wanted to go at it, like you said, from the other approach. We wanted to create a whiskey that would inherently pair with a cigar. So you're not having to, dig through your cigar chest and like, well, what can I drink with this spicy whiskey? Um, and so what led us to that is we wanted something, if it's, like you mentioned, it's got those earthy notes, those gingerbread, that that gingerbread note is from that Amburana. So Amburana is like a soft Brazilian wood. So a lot of really cool things that happen in it. Baking spice notes, kind of like you were alluding to. And so that was that. And then it's also, we rested that in a cognac barrel for a little while. So that's where you get some of those like dried fruit notes. Yeah, we just wanted to. I mean, Nancy Fraley, who does, Joseph Magnus, was a huge inspiration. I love those blends, but to me, it was still, I can't. It was really hard to smoke a cigar with those whiskeys because they were too alike versus trying to complement each other. So we wanted to make something that complemented a cigar and wasn't like a cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the Amburana wood, I believe they use that in aging like a Brazilian spirit. I can't remember the name, but it's like a sugarcane spirit similar to rum.
Hmm.
That's what I've seen looking up, trying to find out more about that. But that, like you said, it gives you that the gingerbread and vanilla.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of barrels, I believe you also have been aging rum in Hungarian oak barrels.
Yep, that's right.
Again, never heard of that before. What is that all about?
Yeah, so our first batch still hasn't released. The plan was to release it last year, but if you ever heard me talk before, like I'm very big on the spirit in the barrel tells us when it's ready. I don't arbitrarily say, in 2 or 3 or 5 years, this is going to be done. And so we tried it a few times and it just wasn't ready, and we still don't think it's ready. And so, to this day, batch one still sitting in the rick house. So hopefully, maybe this year, maybe next year it'll come out. But it was one of those experiments. I kind of stumbled on that as I was starting Copper Sky. So, I had a bunch of, cube experiments going in mason jars and different things. And so our rum in and of itself is also pretty unique because it's kind of agricole process. So we just take panela sugar straight from Colombia, cook it, and then pitch the yeast, distill it, and that's it. It goes straight into the barrel. We don't add coloring, sugar cane. We don't add anything back to it. It goes straight into the Hungarian oak. And I landed on that Hungarian oak because hopefully, as you'll see when we release it, it creates these really cool, like bourbony vanilla notes on the rum. It's wild. Like it was mind blowing when I tried the first experiment, and I was
Huh.
like, "This is what we have to do. This is going to be like Copper Sky's rum is this pure agricole process, and then put it in Hungarian oak barrels, let it age, and that's it. So we don't have a clear rum. We will have that Hungarian oak rum.
That is interesting. And can't wait to try it. Not normally a rum guy,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that sounds right up my alley. Kind of like that barrel aged rum with the, like that bourbon oakiness to it. Can't wait. Um, Before we dive into more whiskey and spirits, I have a couple of things that I found fascinating about your obviously long list of education and experiences. But I understand that you're the first company that you started. You were at like 24, and
yep,
you started a safe ride transportation company for your college town. Can you
yep.
tell our listeners like what was that all about, and what inspired that, and also what is that?
Yeah. So it was called Troy Transit because I went to school at Troy University in Alabama. At the time, Uber and all these other things, that wasn't a thing when we were in school. And Troy is South Alabama, so kind of smaller town. So there's no taxis. There really was no mode of transportation outside of you or your friends drive yourself. And so when I graduated, I noticed this void of like safe transportation for the students because generally, in the city, all the bars and stuff are kind of centralized, so it's not really spread out. So I bought a van and a Suburban and started Troy Transit, and for a flat fee, which it was really nice back then, for $5, it'd take you from the bar to your house, anywhere within the city limits. And yeah, that concept really spurned on the school to take over that. And so essentially, I folded up Troy Transit, and now the school offers it's part of tuition. They offer rides all around the city campus, anything like that. And of course, now there's Uber and stuff like that. But yeah, it was mostly just a timing and opportunity thing, which is what a lot of the companies I start are. They're not all passion projects. A lot of them are just, hey, this is an opportunity. The timing is right. Let's jump on it.
You're a Bama boy, so roll tide.
Roll damn tide.
Hell yeah! I was pretty disappointed in March Madness. I had roll tide going all the way, and yeah, that was a huge disappointment. But
I think it was, yeah, I
um,
think it was that's the definition of an upset right there when you're
that,
literally expecting them to go and they get beat by some second rate team.
yeah, that was. I mean, at March Madness, my bracket was busted day one, hour two. But but yeah, I was hoping for them to take it all. Among your other experiences, you also created the Kingdom Advancement Project, which is a
Yep.
nonprofit that focuses on helping folks in need down in Nicaragua. How has that project been, and how can our listeners get involved or help?
Yeah, so that was the first nonprofit that we started. We have another one that we've since started. That one was focused on, like you said, Nicaragua, and then it also has a little bit of touch, like in Pakistan, because I lived in Pakistan for a year.
Yeah,
Um, but it started when I lived in Georgia. Our church used to go down to Nicaragua to do mission trips, and it was really focused on, you know, spreading the word, getting resources versus let's just go down and build, buildings and give stuff away. It was really more people focused. So we launched that because after the first time we went down there, we noticed that even the teams that were going were, I mean, it was just all paid out of their own pockets. There wasn't a lot of resources devoted to it. And so I'm all about, hey, let's help each other. And so we started the Kingdom Advancement Project so that it could help, push the gospel in Nicaragua. But then when I lived in Pakistan, I started making some interesting connections, and so we've also sent resources out to Pakistan. Easiest way is just to go to the website. There's usually like a donate link, or if there's specific items, like sometimes they do need like a generator because there's floods or whatever it is. We'll
Yeah.
put different things on the website. We haven't been able to
Wow.
go down to Nicaragua in a couple years though, because I don't know if you follow like world politics, but there's been some civil unrest on and off down there.
Yeah, I try not to dive too far deep down into the global news rabbit hole because globally, it's just upsetting and depressing any
Yeah,
direction.
we got
But
enough of our
yeah,
own problems.
right, exactly. I kind of get nauseous watching U.S. Chicago news. I don't. You said you were in Georgia. Where in Georgia?
I was down in Valdosta, South Georgia.
Oh, okay. I got my in-laws are North Georgia, Ringgold, just south of
Gotcha.
Chattanooga. So,
Yeah, I was like
um,
two exits away from Florida.
okay, so you were that. Yeah, okay. Getting into the spirits, starting from the start, how did you get your start in the whiskey industry? I mean, like I said, you were Air Force, you were special agent, you were all of this, and you kind of just dove right into the whiskey head first. How did that even become?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of been one of my life's mantras too. Is just try it, just go for it, figure it out. Um, Educate yourself along the way, and just absorb all the information. So that transition, I mean, you're right. It was very instant. I was on terminal leave with the military, got a job at Axe on the Oak as an intern, and then quickly got promoted to the director of operations there. So that's where I kind of, cut my teeth in the industry was at Axe on the Oak, which is down in Colorado Springs. Great group of guys. So I learned
Yeah,
about operations and, how do you actually run a distillery? How do you do the paperwork? How do you manage? Like those different things. Because the liquor world is very different. I will say because of the different jobs I had in the government, the people leading and the people, the relationships, that just comes naturally to me. I love leading and building teams and being around people. But the liquor world is very different because there's so many layers of government oversight. You got the city, the state, the feds. Everybody wants their cut. Everybody wants their taxes. And so I grinded. I got my teeth cut on that. I wasn't even there for a year, and then I was like, you know what, I'm ready. Let's go. And so I just full steam ahead jumped into Copper Sky Distillery. Launched it here up in Longmont, Colorado, which is right outside of Boulder, and we have been full steam ahead since day one.
Longmont, Colorado is printed etched in the glass. By the way, folks. Um, Yeah. And speaking of your life's mantra, and you're living in Pakistan, you wrote a book while you were living in Pakistan, I believe, called
I did.
"Forgotten Country: The Discussion of Servant Leadership," which was published in 2019, which has an impressive 4.6 rating on Amazon, by the way. So check it out. I need to. Can you talk about that book? But more importantly, like you said, your life's mantra is servant leadership. And what does that mean?
Yeah, so I started writing the book when I was living in Pakistan because, oddly enough, my second master's in theology, I completed it while living in Pakistan. So I was really uh, encouraged to start writing there. I finished it when I moved to Colorado. Um, yeah, I mean, servant leadership's always been huge to me, and that's that applies across multiple spectrums. Obviously, the book is centered on government work, and that's not just like you got to be in the military. And it alludes to that in the book. I mean, government work really is anything. And the only reason I chose that topic is because I was obviously working for the government, but that could be anything from like the mail driver or,
Yeah.
the TSA agent. It's really anything. But all of the principles that are in that book are applicable to any industry. And it's basically, I don't take the stance of leading other people unless I'm serving those people. I mean, even at Copper Sky, at every company I start, my heart is in serving them, even before products and customers and anything else. Like I'm building these teams so that I can better their lives and I can help them grow. And so to me, like if you have that mindset and that heart of, hey, I'm serving the people who are helping me grow this company, uh, things will fall into place a lot easier than trying to always be combative with, you're like, I'm the boss and you're the followers. Like that rarely works out. You're going to create, a toxic leadership. People don't want to work, especially in today's generation, post COVID,
No,
where they can go and do whatever they want and work from wherever they want. Morale is a huge thing in the workplace.
it is. No, absolutely. I've had I have a good amount of years of management with my profession. And like you said, with post COVID, a lot of mentalities have definitely changed and altered. I guess you would even say evolved to having a different mindset when it comes to the leadership and who's steering that ship, because theoretically everyone is steering that ship. It just so happens that one guy has his hands on the steering wheel. But um, speaking of people that work for you, Isaac Hafner, right? Your
Yep.
master blender, head distiller, also comes from a very large variety of experiences, from being like a grocery bagger to a piano instructor, and then
Right.
working at a liquor store, and then now he's the master stiller at Copper Sky. How did y'all cross paths, and how did that partnership get started?
Yeah, and also I'd like to point out he has a degree in music. So most of the people that work with, like especially in Copper Sky, all of our degrees don't. No, I have one employee. She just started, who actually has a fermentation science degree. The rest of us are
Wow.
like even my GM, sports management,
Yeah.
recreation, music, uh, public relations is one of my operations guys. So it's crazy. But he and I crossed paths after I left, and I'd started Copper Sky. He had got an internship with Axe in the Oak, and so they knew that I was starting Copper Sky. They reached out and said, "Hey, do you need any help with whatever?" He's just wanting to get his feet wet in the industry, and he's coming off this internship. And so initially, we hired him for sales because he had worked in a liquor store,
Yep.
and then he had
He
this
was like a
behind the
purchaser
curtain
there,
industry
right?
experience. Yeah, so I hired him for sales and took him out a few times, and I quickly learned that that wasn't his passion. I'd fair to say I'm pretty good at reading people just because of my current or my previous, government employment. I'm pretty good at reading people, and I quickly saw that that wasn't what he wanted to do. And so I slid him over into operations, and he started as basically just like production line, bottling, helping, clean, run hoses, throw the mash, do all that stuff. Within about a 7, 8 months of him being there, the distiller that I had took a position at a cidery in town, and so I was like, "Hey, you're getting the call up to the majors. You're going to be the
Bringing
head
a righty.
distiller now." Yeah, and so I threw him into the fire, gave him all the resources he need. We went to some training together, conferences, did the bourbon steward thing. He's really one of those individuals that is so brilliant, where he's self-taught. So like, he dove into books and taught himself, and he understands all the sciences. And we really, because we're that hybrid distillery, like we make our own stuff, but it's still aging, and we source. We really lean into the art of blending, and so we just went full bore with that and started racking up awards and all kind of crazy success. And so I dubbed him the master blender, and because most people are very humble. They're like, no, I'm like, dude, you are
Yep.
self-taught. You have Neither one of us come from like this long line of distillers. Like, we're making our own name. All these awards on the wall are because of you. And so I call him, he's our master blender for sure. And he's our head distiller. So he has a team of 4 under him. But yeah, and actually we had this conversation about 2 weeks ago. I was like, dude, I've thrown you into the fire and you've done very well.
Speaking of awards, I wanted to congratulate you on recently becoming Longmont's Chamber of Commerce Emerging Business of the Year. So bravo. And you
Thank you.
mentioned other awards. Uh, what other awards has Copper Sky achieved in, I mean, short term? Or you're relatively young still as a
We're about to be
distillery, right?
3 years old. Yeah.
Wow. So you're just
Yeah.
you're walking, you're talking, but you're still growing.
Oh yeah. We have. where I remind the guys all the time, like we're laying the foundation for the future of Copper Sky. So I
Yeah.
mean, we've been fortunate to win some, to me, just mind blowing awards in our little 3 years we've been on the map. I mean, it's stuff from multiple double golds. Last year, our Copper Accord, which is our annual special release, won
Hmm.
Whiskey of the Year, Spirit of the Year. Our wheat whiskey last year took home whiskey of the, I think it was best American whiskey in one of the European competitions. We just this past week we just won four more awards, some more golds in like the London International and the Denver International. So I mean, I honestly can't even keep up. It's mind blowing when I get the emails or the medals in the mail. I'm like, man, we're so young and we're doing these great things, and it's motivating because it's really easy to let stuff like that go to your head and like, oh yeah, we're just getting a bunch of awards, but it is motivating to see like my staff's hard work, rewarded because it's
Yeah.
really them. Like they're the ones that are down, putting the blends together, running all the equipment. My passion is not running a still. I know how to do it all. I love blending, so I get involved with the blending and I taste everything that goes out the door. But my passion is, leading and building teams, building companies, and so I surround myself with people who are good at what they do, and I trust them to do the right thing, and it's showing that they are.
I just had this envision of a Mike Root recreating a Michael Phelps photo op with all your medals around your neck. um, the Copper Sky, the Copper Accord you mentioned, like you said, annual
Yeah.
limited release, and if I remember correctly, it represents each year's work. Each year at Copper Sky, the master blender rifles through the rick houses and designs a uniquely crafted blend of many experiments done at the distillery. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
how has the Copper Accord, the 2022, the new one, how
Mm-hmm.
has that compared to the 2021 release? Was
I
there major
Yeah.
differences
So,
or
oh yeah, very much
yeah?
so. And it actually the first Copper Accord was 2021, but we tested it under a different label in 2020, and we just called it the Blender's Choice because we wanted to see, like, how could we do this? How could we, tweak this and perfect this, make it different every year? And so after that 2020, the Blender's Choice sold out in like 2 days. And so we were like, okay,
Oh,
we're on to something. Like, let's make this formal, official, get it a label, give it a name. And so we came up with the Copper Accord. Obviously, the copper, it's in our name. The Accord, if you look at the definition, it's like, the mending of things, of elements that come together. And then instead of like, batch and year, it's composition. So it's kind of a nod to Isaac's music degree. So those words are more like music related.
yeah,
Um,
not
but
like
yeah,
the
every
Honda
year is
Accord.
very unique. No, not like the Honda Accord. This comes together, it doesn't fall apart. But yeah, it's different every year because mainly it is um, base blends of different projects we've done throughout that calendar year. So 2021, one of the unique projects we did was an apple brandy finished wheat bourbon. And so that was kind of the base blend of that's Copper Accord. And every year the batches are named different. So that one was called the Dusty Orchard because it had a lot of apple notes and like earthy tones. We still think that one, of course, we've only done three. That one was the best by far. Um, this year's was amazing. It's won gold medals. It was called the Fox Grove because its base blend was some of a 27-year-old Canadian whiskey that we released when the Queen passed away as a charity bottle. And so, the Fox part of it was, the Queen, the royalty goes on Fox hunts. And then we also had some just wild blends that were in there from different projects that were never released. Some of these projects that are in there were never released. They're only using the Copper Accord. And so there's a lot of citrus notes in this one. So the Grove, Orange Grove, Fox Grove was the name of 2022. So we've already started pulling stuff or earmarking stuff for 2023's batch. It's a year-long project. One of the really cool things we've got earmarked that we may release a couple bottles just of the base blend, but the base blend is going to be a wheat whiskey that is sitting in an amaretto barrel.
Ooh.
So we took there was a bourbon in it before. We gave it to a friend who has a liqueur company. He did a barrel aged amaretto, then gave the barrel back to us, and we have a wheat whiskey sitting in the amaretto barrel. And I mean, like candy. It is so good. So that'll
Wow.
probably be one of the base blends for this year's Copper Accord.
Um, wow. I can't wait to try that. And I've noticed with the podcast, I've talked to a lot of distillers, and I say a lot. I mean, I've only been doing this for about a year, so but the handful of distilleries that I've talked to, that seems to be like a thing that experimentally taking a bourbon barrel, giving it like for example, Whiskey Acres, which is a distillery like 30 minutes from here, local Illinois. They took the bourbon barrel, gave it to a maple syrup company, aged a maple syrup in the bourbon barrel, and then gave the barrel back, and then they had maple whiskey, like a maple
Yeah,
cask whiskey type of thing. Just it's so much fun to see the different techniques and the unique flavors you can get from doing those type of experiments because you just don't know until you try. And I can't wait to try to get my hands on one of those. Um, I understand you just launched a new location. Uh,
yep.
Can you talk about your new spot? So, did you, is it major upgrade? What's it all about?
Oh yeah, yeah. So when we started, I think like most small craft stores, we were in this old industrial district in an old, I think it was an old auto shop warehouse. It was like 2,400 square feet. We had a bunch of shipping containers outside that we were storing barrels and stuff in because there wasn't room inside. So we were there for the first couple years, and then just through, I mean, organic growth, we had the opportunity to move into a new location in downtown Longmont, like the heart of this new district they're building, and it's like 7,000 square feet. So we almost tripled the size. I mean,
Hell yeah.
everything has its place now because at the old spot, everything was kind of on top of each other, and there was no, we just had like little partition walls that was like, hey, don't cross that. That's where things are. But now, like, we have two tasting rooms. We have one up front that has private rooms in it. We host all kind of events. We have a speakeasy in the back that has a private entrance. It's more lounge furniture, so it's all like leather furniture, jazz music, much different vibe. But it's a full service bar as well. We have an on-site warehouse. We have an off-site warehouse, and then we have the big factory space in the middle. So the guys actually have room to put things where they go, and everything's not falling on top of each other.
Oh, that's awesome. So congratulations to that.
Thank you.
And it sounds
Yeah,
like you have
thanks.
a little bit of room to grow before you need a
Yeah,
bigger spot.
we're already starting to bust. That's why we have that offsite warehouse. But we're already like, we need more fermenters. We need more
Yeah.
tanks. So it's like, okay, all right.
You talk something I heard. You had a side project that you mentioned a few years back. It involved a blend of 18-year Alberta rye in the Weller Full Proof Single Barrel. Did that ever come to
Yeah,
be?
it did. So that went to a private group here in Colorado. And that was amazing. I'm a huge Weller fan, which is kind of the inspiration of our weeded line because being from the South, I tend to like the sweeter bourbons or the sweeter whiskeys. So Buffalo Traces, Blanton's, all that stuff. And so I really wanted to offer a weeded bourbon and a weeded whiskey out here because they're pretty hard to get. And so we wanted to have a product that was very similar in profile that was readily available. Um, so this group, they did a Weller foolproof pick for charity, and then they gave me the barrel, and I put that 26-year-old or 18-year-old Canadian Alberta rye into the barrel, and it sat for a year, and then we harvested it. Uh, I think we might have proofed it down like half a point, just to kind of soften the edges off. So it's really cast strength. It's hot, and it was amazing. That all
Oh.
went to that group. I had to beg to keep some back just for me because I was like, man, this is so good. Um, but yeah, I mean, fun projects like usually if we like those really wild one-offs, I try to give to like groups or small you know small stores or stuff like that. It's not like a huge market release. Even I mean, there's some stuff we do, like we've got some coffee finishes and some of like the amaretto, like I was saying, that probably won't hit market. It's just research that we're doing, and maybe we'll do it, next year or the year after. But we really spend a lot of time in blending projects or barrel finish researching, because on all of our barrel finishes, as you can tell, even with that cigar blend, like I'm really specific on whiskey forward. Like I don't like barrel finishes that all you taste is the wine or whatever it's being finished in. To me, like I still want that whiskey to be the first thing that you taste.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. It's you get the whiskey up front, and like I said, it's very whiskey forward,
Mm,
but then you get that finish. It's like that
right.
that little bit of little icing on top, if you will, little sprinkles. And it's fun.
Right.
Let's talk about the Copper Sky Falling Heroes whiskey for a minute.
Oh
This is
yeah.
a special batch that was created to honor the heroes who risk their lives every day: police officers, firefighters, first responders who just they never make it home. All of the
Hmm.
proceeds, is that right? All of the proceeds go from this special release are donated to the Colorado Fallen Hero Foundation to support families of local heroes. I mean, as a volunteer firefighter and friends and that are first responders, I can't express how much I appreciate this release and your donations. Can you talk a little bit about the support and assistance that this release has been able to provide for that foundation?
Yeah. So we release that once a year. This year will be batch three. Um, and yeah, there's a handful of organizations that we're associated with. Like we just launched a new community page on our website that shows you who we partner with, and it actually allows you to click on it and go and donate, just in case like you can't ever make it out to the distillery for the fundraising events. But the Colorado Fallen Hero Foundation specifically, obviously it's close to home for both of us, first responders. What they do is when a hero, makes his last call in, while the city and everyone else is doing the response and they're trying to continue to keep people safe, Colorado Fallen Heroes Foundation immediately steps in and starts taking care of the family, taking care of all the funeral arrangements, paying for the headstone, like they paying for everything. Because as you know, and most people might not know this, because it's like, oh, if a first responder falls on line of duty, they're taken care of. Yeah, there's some benevolence funds from the state. It's usually not that much, and it usually doesn't
Right.
come for a long time. It's not
Yep.
like, oh, someone's passed away and you get a check tomorrow to help things out. That's not how it is. And we know
No.
funerals and memorials happen pretty quick. And so Colorado Fallen Hero Foundation comes in and takes care of the memorials. They really lean in and take care of the families. And everyone that's on the Colorado Fallen Heroes Foundation, like their board and all that, they either were or are first responders. So it's that community taking care of the community. Um, and it's one of those things because they do the things that we're not thinking about in that moment, right? We're thinking about, hey, I got to put my uniform back on and go out there. I got to continue to do my job. And so they come in and take care of the family and take care of all the arrangements or the things that we don't want to think about because it's uncomfortable. So they do the hard work in the hard time. It's probably the best way to put it.
I yeah. Um, like you said, there might be some assistance, but it's arrangements need to happen. They need to happen fast, and they're not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And things
No,
like
it's not.
that, you people just every little bit helps, especially for the people who put their lives on the line. So thank you for
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
Let's get to
absolutely.
a lighter note here. Let's flip it. I have a fun fact I want to confirm with you, Mike. Is it true Clyde Barrow from
Uh-oh.
Bonnie and Clyde is in your family tree? And if so,
That
how?
yeah, my grandmother's side, they're the Barrows. Um, so there was it's kind of light, kind of funny, but we had a Barrow family member pass away about a year and a half ago. So all the Barrows were in town in Georgia, and one of the aunts made a comment. They were like, if the feds knew we were all here at this time, they'd probably want to talk to a few of us. I was like, okay, well, enjoy the funeral, but Yeah, that's kind of an interesting fun fact, which is I don't know if you've seen, but we did a Bonnie and Clyde release, which was
Did
kind of
you?
like the yeah we did. It was a collaboration with a distillery down in Colorado Springs, Art of the Spirits Distillery. We took some of their whiskey, some of our whiskey, blended it, and then put it in I think it was a Sauvignon Blanc barrel. Let it sit for a while, and then he released some bottles, I released some bottles, but they all had the Bonnie and Clyde, logo and label, and we did some cool stickers. We did a full photo shoot for it. But yeah, and that's kind of where that came from because I always joke and say if I was born in a different time, I probably wouldn't have been on the other side of the badge. I might have been on the other side of the history books.
Did you incorporate some of that family history in your speakeasy?
No, some people. I had a lot of friends ask if I was going to do that, but I really wanted Copper Sky to kind of be its own thing and its own brand, its own family. I didn't want people to feel like even like if, they're part of the Copper Sky team, like, oh, this is just something for Mike's family. It's not really. I wanted everyone who is on the staff at Copper Sky to feel like Copper Sky is a part of them. It's theirs. So I didn't really incorporate any family anything into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, Back to the experiments that Copper Sky is creating. Is there anything on the drawing board or maybe in flight that our listeners can be excited for? Are you working on any new collabs, things of that nature?
I would say the newest thing that we just released yesterday at the distillery and it hits the market Monday. We're starting, or we just started a sister brand of Copper Sky. So it's still under Copper Sky, but it's a different bottle, different label, and it's called Switch Rail. Switch Rail is a nod to the old train tracks that are behind our distillery that are still very active, and you can hear the trains blowing their horns every day. But like Teddy Roosevelt, Winston Churchill came through on those tracks, and so the name is really a nod to that Switch Rail railroad track that's behind us. And so the first thing that we released yesterday under that line was a single malt whiskey. Um, just under 3 years old, 100% single malted barley. And that switch rail line is going to be a little more what I call like that, cost effective line. So it's like $35 a bottle versus, the 55 to $65 our normal stuff is. We're also going to release a bottle and bond and an old English dry gin under switch rail. So those will be coming in the next few months. We're trying to get that up on our website so it can be, you know, bought in 34 states. Um, but that just hit the shelves yesterday, so that'll be a fun. And it is delicious. I was extremely surprised because normally I like high proof stuff. We proofed that down to 90, and man, it knocked my socks off. I took a couple bottles home yesterday because I was like, I gotta keep this at the house for some sipping whiskey.
uh, I know that what I've heard, and I haven't been there yet. I think next year will be my first trip, but Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival happens in the Denver area, and I know the
Oh
Axe
yeah,
in the Oak makes a presence there. Is Copper Sky going to try to kind of go over there and shake some hands and be at those events?
yeah. So we were there last year. Last year was our first year, and we've already signed up for this year's. I mean, it is. You should definitely come. That is a blast. It's one of my favorite festivals that we get to participate in. Our sales team does events all over the state, basically all year long, but that is one that I actually make sure to go to because it is so fun. Um, and
I mean,
yeah, we
if
usually
you're there,
have.
you're gonna see some Chi-Town crew members down there. They bought their tickets. That's all they can talk about. So, be sure to say hi to them when you see that logo on their shirts and whatnot. But yeah, I have a year and a half old daughter, and it's kind of hard to validate. Hey, babe, I'm going to a cigar festival in Denver for a couple of days. So, but she also smokes cigars, so I'm thinking maybe next year would be the right time to get a babysitter for the weekend and
Yeah,
head out to Denver.
yeah, I
Um,
would definitely encourage you to come. It's a blast. I mean, you meet some really cool people, make great friends, get to drink great whiskey. Usually, typically, our cigar blend releases before that festival, but we always hold a couple cases back just for that festival.
oh, I bet this is probably a huge hit with that crowd.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so, being from the South, we talked about Roll Tide. We talked about you being in Georgia. How the hell did you become a diehard Broncos fan?
Oh man, I get that all the time, which is great because I'm in Colorado now. When I was a kid growing up in Alabama, I really fell in love with Terrell Davis, which he went to the University of Georgia. But I fell in love with Terrell Davis. He got drafted by the Broncos, and then I just followed him. Then they won 2 Super Bowls, and so that just solidified my fandom. And I'm such a diehard fan because I'm a self-made fan, right? Like I didn't grow up in Colorado. None of my family are Broncos fans. Like as a kid, I became a Broncos fan and just like fell in love with them. And then it really capped it off with, and I still to this day don't know how my mom did it. I'm convinced she probably told Terrell Davis I was like dying of cancer. But on my 13th birthday, he sent me a signed football, a signed hat, and a signed letter, which was the year they won their second Super Bowl. So it's all like Super Bowl commemorative stuff signed. And I got that framed
Wow.
and hang on, and I'm like, yeah,
Huh. That's awesome.
yep.
Cool. I saw a tattoo on your arm, left forearm, I believe, caught my attention.
I got a
Yeah.
ball.
Well, yeah,
Where?
no, yeah, me too. It's the John 15:13. Is that did I read it right when I saw the picture?
Oh, right here. Well, it's on my
Yeah.
forearm. It's hard to see.
Uh, can you
This is
that
this is weird. Yeah, it's right there. John
I
15:13.
can you translate that to the people listening? I know what it means, but can you translate that so people know the meaning behind that?
Yeah, I'll paraphrase it so it's not the old English, but it's, you know, greater love have no man that someone would lay down their life for their brother. And me and one of my brothers got that together. We were both in the military, um, both out now, and so it was meaningful to both of us because we deployed many times and lost friends, and so it had, it crossed not only bloodline, but it had a lot of deep meaning for us. So
Yeah,
yeah, most of my tattoos are. I'm a very like a deep thinker, deep person. So some of the shapes are kind of just fill-ins, but a lot of the words in the Old English and Greek and Gaelic, they're all they're all very meaningful. Not just like we all have this because my mom has multiple sclerosis, breast cancer, and so all three of us brothers got that tattoo for her.
yeah.
She's still fighting and battling on that. So we've done a breast cancer bottle for her and raised a bunch of money to help pay for her bills.
No, I was young and dumb and got a bunch of tattoos when I was younger. There's
I didn't start getting
there's
mine until later because I did overseas a lot, deployment, counterintelligence, different things. I didn't have I had one tattoo from when I was in college that was just small and hidden under a shirt. But like since post military is now, and I think I've got like 35 or so.
um you had a podcast at one point, the Atypical Intellects. I
Yeah,
believe it went like 6 episodes.
yep.
Any chance of revisiting that project?
Yeah, we actually are. We got it. We pulled all the equipment out of storage the other day. Now that we're, I guess, quote unquote, slowing down, I've got 2 other companies I'm trying to launch right now, but we're trying to get that restarted because that was definitely a passion project because the people we had on and just the like like the ability to express yourself was a blast. I started getting extremely busy with different construction projects, and I'm the type of person if I can't dedicate my full self to it, I'm not going to half-ass it. So we decided
Yep.
to just put a pause on it, and then we're looking at relaunching it here probably in the summer. Just kind of looking for a space to do permanent because on previously we would just kind of bounce around the different locations. So we're trying to find a place to permanently set it up and get back to doing it, once a week because I really love that. I enjoyed it. It's just fun.
It is. And I try to explain that. I mean, hey man, get a shed. The shed is where the podcast shed is where it's at. Not
Yeah,
even kidding you. This
that
is a
might be a
tiny
good
ass
idea. Yeah.
shed in my backyard. Uh, but it is. It's a fun experience and to meet people, talk about the different things that people are doing. I try to stay within the cigar, beer, whiskey industries. Um, but even just to have a little bit of fun, like my last episode, I did the joke and smoke episode where it's just me and my buddy sitting in the shed joking off, and it was a blast. I mean, I still to this day,
Yeah.
like I was talking about it today, this morning. I'm like, I had so much fun just going back and forth. But yeah, it's definitely a fun passion project, hobby, if you would. You just
Yeah.
mentioned you have like two or three other company businesses that you want to take off. So what you're gonna be at like 34 by the end of the year?
No,
Like what?
this will be that'll act nine. This will be nine. Yeah. So we got a right behind the distillery. We're doing an axe throwing bar, and then right next to the distillery, I partnered with some buddies. They founded the company. It's called the Local Drive. It's a high-end golf lounge, cocktail bar, and then they've let me jump on since then as a partner. And so now we're building second location, third, fourth, and fifth location here in the next few months. But yeah, I'm always doing something. I have to have an active mind or I'd lose my mind.
It's true. It's like idle hands and idle minds. Gotta keep them busy. Um, where can I besides copperskydistillery.com? Besides there, where else can people find your product? Are you nationwide at this point?
We're technically, yeah, because we're in other states, but we're not in every state. So physically in stores, we're Colorado, California, Texas, Florida, New York, and DC. We're working to expand to Georgia and Alabama this year. But if you go to our website and then buy, there's a buy now button. In 34 states, you can have it shipped straight to your door. And we're also about to try to expand that as well. Try to get as much as we can. But usually, like in the big states, so like in Florida, Texas, California, and Colorado, the easiest, we're in a lot of mom and pop stores, but if you're just one of those, hey, I'm in and out, we're in all the Total Wines. We're I've got meetings next week in Texas with like the Specs and all the other big stores. We try to make it as convenient as possible for people to get our product. While I still love supporting small mom and pop stores, but I also want to make sure that it's available to people wherever they are.
Yeah. Yeah, like here in the Illinois, northern Illinois, we have the Bennies, which is like
Yeah, yeah.
46, 47 locations. So, I'm hoping to see Copper Sky in Illinois pretty soon, hopefully.
All
That
right,
would be great.
I'll have my team reach out to them and see if we can
Yeah,
start that
just
conversation.
make that happen, will you, please? Thanks. Uh,
Yep, gotcha.
you're on social media, I'm assuming. Are you your Instagram, Twitter? Are you on the TikTok? Are you out there
No
dancing with your
TikTok,
bottles? No.
no TikTok, no Twitter even. I do
Wow.
have an Instagram. I have someone help me manage it, even my personal one, just because I don't have a lot of time. But I've got an amazing person that runs all of our multiple companies' social medias. I try to get on Facebook. I'm still old school, so like I like communicating with people on Facebook. So when people, send me a message or comment on stuff, I engage. I like having some fun. I'm not on Instagram as much. Usually I just post pictures every now and then on Instagram, but my guy keeps telling me like that's where all the people are, and that's where I'm like, oh God, I don't care.
That's where
I got so much stuff going on here.
that's where the Michael Phelps reenactment photo is going to be with all your medals. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, is there any events coming up that people can find you guys at, or maybe you're hosting at your distillery that you want to kind of throw out there to get people aware?
Uh, we're most of the events here in Colorado, like all the whiskey festivals, we're at all of those. Definitely the Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. At the distillery, we have over Memorial Day weekend, we always do a big blending competition. So a bunch of groups fly in. It's a big 2 day event, usually capped off with just like a big Memorial Day party at the distillery. I'm trying to think if we have any other. I always just encourage people to follow our social media, Facebook and Instagram, Copper Sky Longmont, because we post everything there, like all of our fundraising events. Usually once or twice a month, we have some sort of fundraising event at the distillery. Um, do a lot of veteran stuff at the distillery, veteran meetups, different things like that. Um, yeah, that's usually the best place. It's hard for me to keep up with all the events unless it's something that I'm physically going to be at, which I will be at
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest.
Well, like I said, they're
Wearing this shirt. I don't know if you can tell what it is, but it's a collab polo we did. It's a deconstructed old fashioned, so it's got like the oranges and the different ingredients, and then it's got, you can see right there, a little cigar.
Okay.
Got a cigar in there. It's got there's a Copper Sky bottle of whiskey. So I'll be wearing my old fashioned polo.
Well,
We had a couple left. I'll have to text me your size. I think I got a couple left at the Distillery. I'll get you one.
hell yeah. That awesome. And for those listening, especially in the cigar world, the Chi-Town crew and everybody on Cigar Dojo and all of the platforms, please go say hi to Mike when you see him at Rocky Mountain Fest. He'll be wearing that shirt. And if you're just listening on Spotify, it's bright orange. You can't miss it. Uh, um, I feel like I mean this episode was great, and this cigar and this whiskey, uh, wow, phenomenal
Yeah.
stuff. I can't even dive into the words that describes how phenomenal. And I love the logo too. All of your bottles I've seen are very uniform too, and I appreciate that with a lot of the distilleries that I see, where sometimes they'll do something funky with but all of yours have that same uniform to it. So
Yeah.
that is
Yep.
just stunning bottle. Definitely eye catching would be the word.
Yeah.
If I saw that at a store, I'm definitely gonna go, oh, what is this? So that is super awesome. You said you source some of your whiskey. Is that MGP?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Mostly MGP. Like we talked about earlier, some of it's like some Canadian whiskeys, Alberta Rye. For usually that stuff is either private projects or charity bottles. But yeah, most of our product is MGP.
Okay. And great stuff comes from there too. I mean, there's it's been impressive. I believe this time is running out. My cigar's coming down to a nub. I took my band off. I'm gonna finish this pour. Uh, Mike, thanks for taking the time. I like I said, I know you're busy with all 64 companies that you're running right now, and I know you're busy.
And a 5 month old
Uh,
if you can't hear in the background.
I hear, yeah, no, I know. I thought it was mine for a minute. Folks, don't forget to check out Copper Sky's website at copperskydistillery.com. If you see Mike out there, make sure you use y'all in a sentence. Apparently, that gets you a free drink. And Friends of the Leaf, don't forget to visit our official sponsor, Black Starline Cigars, at blackstarline.shop. Use promo code CigarSocial15 for 15% off your entire order and free shipping over $100. Next episode, live in the Smoke Shed studio, I'll have Frank, who owns a brewery here in Batavia, Illinois. It's a Sturdy Shelter Brewing. Just opened up. Great spot. It's about 3 blocks uh, east of here. And can't wait for that episode. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time here at the Cigar Social Podcast.